Hi folks, this is an additional video tied to that last one I put up showing how I have expanded my Alesis DM10 kit, and some people have asked how does this actually occur, which is a good question because I kind of took it on faith what I was doing was going to work, and lo and behold it did. So I thought I'd pass on the knowledge, but it's not too hard. Here's the kit, of course, and what I've got is a basic DM10X kit with that comes as a 6-piece from the factory. So what I have are the pads, the main tom pads. Those are the 4 that are included: the snare, the bass, come on, and the ride cymbal, crash, and crash. So those are the basic pieces. And so what I've added on are these 3 high toms and these 2 cymbals up here and a splash. That one's not acting as a splash right now. China position and low end crash over here. So what happens is I put all the normal pads that would go with the kit into the back of the main unit, as you normally would. Those are all the wires that go back in there. And in order to expand the kit, I got this Alesis trigger IO, and you can't see them too well in the light here, but basically it's got a back that looks pretty much exactly like the Alesis main module back end, and it has various tom inputs, ride, hi-hat, a couple, I've got 4 over here that don't have anything in them. And what else? Some foot pedal stuff that happens. So what you do, plug your extra pads into there, use this MIDI out, and that goes over to the main module, to the MIDI in. And what it does is it takes the pads that are up here, puts them into this, assigns them a MIDI note, which could be any note, number 58, 73, whatever, and then sends them to that main module that then applies a sound sample to them, and you can tell which sound sample you get, just like the rest of the pads, and you're pretty much set. So with that, what you can see, hopefully on here, maybe it's not going to come out too clear. Nope, it's not. Anyways, there we go. On the Alesis drum module, you can see I've got this Rush Scars it's kit programmed in, and it also has some associated pads sounds with it, and I can change various kits. There's 20 different kits that you can assign. I use 19 and 20 the most. I don't know why. And so that just ends up being over here. So this controls all your sounds. Anything that's kind of sample driven is controlled by the Alesis main module. For the additional pads, anything that's associated with the actual pad, the trigger in the pad itself, is controlled by the Alesis trigger IO. And you can set up the sensitivity, gain, velocity, retrigger, all that crosstalk, all that stuff with this, just like you would on the main module for the pads that the main module can take. And the only bad thing is that I've got this extra pad set over here, and there's only one MIDI in on the back of the Alesis main module. So that is taken up by the Alesis trigger IO. So I have to run this pad set into a audio channel in the back or in the front. You could do it, yeah, I guess in the back. And I can put it out through the main speakers that way. But it would be better to have it in a MIDI, because then I could use the samples of the main module for those sounds as well. So the only way to do that with the Alesis main module is to get a kind of a unit that gathers MIDI together and collects them into one input. But I'm not going to do that yet. One last thing I was going to point out that you can do to get even more pads, which is pretty amazing, is that all these pads have dual zones on them, i.e. the main head and then the rim for the toms, and then for the ride, at least for the standard ride, it's got the main portion of the ride and then the bell. Those are 2 zones. On the newer Alesis rides, it's got 3 zones. It's got the bell, the edge, and the main part of the cymbal. But if you don't want to pipe or use a sound for the rim in particular, you can actually split the pads up, and you can use this kind of expansion thing. It's got a typical male end to it. Really need a 1/4-inch end, and then the 2 female ends. And it's for a stereo cable. So on the stereo cable, you've got the outer or the top ring and the inner ring, and it splits it according to those rings. And so you can actually end up with a pad for every single zone, so you don't have to have dual zone pads. And that's pretty handy in some cases where, in particular on this set, you don't want to, as I'm doing like a quick fill down the toms, sometimes you'll run into a rim accidentally, and all of a sudden you'll trigger like a goofy sound like a triangle or something like that. So it's nice to be able to split them up so you don't actually trigger a sound, but you still have all the sounds available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and add at least another 4 toms here shortly to be more like percussion instruments, and then a separate trigger to move kits around just based on the sequence of kits. So hopefully that helps. Thanks.